What's up, family? It is with great honor and humility that I'm able to announce that this is the 999th video uploaded on this channel. 999. And it's a trip because I never really thought that I had much to say. You know what I mean? I didn't really want to start this channel. I really didn't want to make YouTube videos or anything of that nature. You know what I mean? I started this channel on August 24th, 2020, Kobe Bryant's birthday. Just because, man, so many people were dying around me, that were younger than me. And it's like, man, I don't want to die with all the knowledge and all the understanding that I've gained through life. Let me make this channel so I could leave it for my kids, my grandkids, and all those coming after me, so that they could go somewhere and be able to pick up some of the wisdom that I've gained along the way. I never realized that it would take on a life of its own. I never realized or thought or imagined that we would reach people in over 80 countries. We'd have thousands of subscribers, that I would become a life coach and a mentor and talk to people all over the world. That was never my thoughts. That was never my plan, but it was all about God. Stay with me, we're going somewhere. And the trip, a lot of us really don't believe in God. We don't believe in God. We don't believe that God loves us. We don't believe that God values us. We don't believe that God cares anything about us. And the truth is, a lot of us, we don't even really believe that God exists. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Does God exist? And it's a trip because, man, I just speak for my life, and I got to that point where God can't exist. God don't exist, but it was a process for me to get to that point of that God doesn't exist. I went through, again, I grew up in a very abusive household. My father is very angry and abusive and violent. I saw him murder my mom when I was 2 years old, stabbed her 49 times. I was raised in a household at the age of 6 with my aunt, where, man, we were emotionally and physically beat down. I was molested at church. I was molested by Christian people on 2 different occasions. Once in the church and once in the house. And so I grew up with this thing, man, everybody's talking about God is so loving and God is And I didn't see that over my life. That was not my experience. They kept telling me as a kid that I had the devil in me, and that I was going straight to hell, or I was going to be in prison the rest of my life. But ultimately, I was going to hell. They told I had a first class ticket straight to hell. And so I grew up thinking, man, what the hell's wrong with me? What did I do so bad? What did I do so wrong for God to hate me? I didn't do anything to deserve my father rejecting me. I didn't do anything as a kid for my father to murder my mom. As a 2-year-old, what did I do as a 6-year-old to be molested and to have all this crap happen to me? What did I do as this little baby to have my own family beating me down and emotionally fucking me up? What did I do to have these people so angry and hostile towards me? And so as a little kid, I grew up thinking, man, God can't exist. And if God do exist, then why does he hate me? And so that taught me to hate myself. We're talking about, does God exist? Stay with me. We're going somewhere. Just laying the foundation. And so I grew up thinking, man, everybody's talking about God exists, and God is love, and God is and God will answer your prayers, and God did that. God wasn't answering none of my fucking prayers. God didn't give a fuck about me, so I thought. And if God cared anything about me, he had a crazy way of showing me. Because after all, man, at age of 6, I was crying out to God, and I was like, man, God, I'll do anything, say anything, go anywhere you want me to. Man, just give me these 5 characteristics. As a 6-year-old kid, I'm pleading with God, man, stop my family from doing drugs, get my family out of prisons, and what do. God, I'll go, I'll say whatever you want me to do. Man, just give me these 5 characteristics. Give me the love of David. Give me the strength of Samson. Give me the wisdom of Solomon. Give me the faith of Job, and give me the teaching ability of Paul, and I'll go anywhere, say anything you want me to. And then I was molested. Then I was molested in church. And then I got molested at home. And that flipped my world upside down, and I took on this mentality of, man, fuck God. God can't exist. Because that motherfucker ain't never looked out for me. Y'all talking all this stuff about God is so loving and God is so compassionate and God is omnipresent and God is all knowing and all this powerful and all this other stuff. And he ain't ever came checked up on me. He ain't never looked out for me. If God is so great like you talking, then why the fuck is he rejected me? And I know my language is going to offend some of you. That it is what it is. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a damn. You know what I mean? Grow the fuck up. I'm just talking about my life and the shit that I've gone through and why I didn't believe in God and why I stopped dealing with fucking Christians. Why I began to hate Christians because they talked all this stuff about God, pray. And these motherfuckers don't know how to pray. They talk about God. These motherfuckers don't know God. These motherfuckers don't know love. Oh, we going there today. And it is what it is. We're going there today. You can't talk about some shit you don't really fucking know. Because what you do is you fuck up everybody listening to you. Because they're looking for you. They're looking at you for the answers. So as young men, as young people, we grew up looking up to the people in church. And man, we're hearing all the fucking God, the gossip. We're seeing all the lying and hearing all the lying. We're seeing all the fornicating and the, shacking up. We're seeing all this shit we ain't supposed to be quote unquote seeing. We see the fucking hypocrisy. But you talk about God and God is the answer and God has all the cattle on 1,000 hills and whoop-de-whoop, and we ain't got no fucking food in the house. You talking about God is your provider and Jehovah Shalom, Jehovah Reckon, and all this other stuff, and God provide for you, and man, why we gotta go to school fucking hungry? Why I gotta go to bed at nighttime with my stomach touching my back and my stomach is growling and I'm hungry as fuck because we ain't got shit to eat? Why I gotta go to bed with the lights cut off? Because we ain't got no fucking power. But we want to get up in church and jump up and down and shout around, talking about God, thank you, Jesus, thank you, God, and we ain't got shit manifesting God. We ain't got shit representative of God. We ain't got shit reflecting God in our life. So as a young kid, as a young person, what that does is that teaches you, man, one or two things. God don't like you. All your friends got nice shit. You ain't got nice shit. You ain't got no new school clothes. You got to go to the Salvation Army and to the thrift store and dig through fucking barrels of secondhand and third-hand clothes. You know what I mean? You got to rummage for your fucking school clothes. You ain't got shit new. All your friends, they ain't going to church. They got nice stuff. You got to go to Payless if you lucky. Payless Shoe Source. And when nobody trying to go to Payless Shoe Source, there's no fucking kid. When nobody trying to go to Kmart and Mervyn's, there's no fucking kid. They're talking about back in the 70s. And early 80s. And we're looking around, man, all these other people living the life. All these other people got nice stuff. And, man, we ain't got no new backpacks. And, man, look at what we have. And, man, we ain't got this and we ain't got this. Man, we ain't got no freaking food. Man, our best meals come from school. Our best meals come from eating breakfast and lunch at school. But y'all keep talking about God. Man, look at the hell that I've gone through as a kid. What the fuck are you talking to me about God for? I can't accept that. I can't entertain God because if God is so loving, if God is so compassionate, if God is our provider, then why the fuck ain't he providing for us? What's wrong with me that God don't give a fuck about me? What's wrong with me that God has turned his back on me? And so that fucks up our self-esteem. And many of us, this is our story. We've gone through something traumatic in our life. And we've heard about the great power of God. We've heard about God being loving and compassionate. God being our provider. But wasn't nobody protecting us. Wasn't nobody looking out for us. And if the truth be told, it was God's quote-unquote people that was fucking us up. It was God's quote-unquote people that was quoting the scriptures, that was abusing us. It was God's quote-unquote people that was quoting the scriptures and reading to us and talking to us about thus said the Lord. Why are they sexually violating us? Why are they fucking emotionally raping us? Why are they physically beating the shit out of us? And now that we're growing up and we're learning to think for ourselves, and we're looking at their life, and we're looking at our life, it's like, man, ain't shit about this reflective of God. Ain't shit about this of my life and the pain and the hell that I've gone through. Man, you can't tell me about God. I really must be cursed. I have to be cursed. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. I have to be cursed. My family don't fuck with me. God don't even fuck with me. And here it is. I'm trying. I'm trying to be a good kid. I'm trying to do good in school. I'm trying to listen to my auntie and my grandma. I'm trying to pay attention in Sunday school. I'm trying to pay attention in church. I'm trying to do the right thing, and God still ain't fucking with me. God still ain't protecting me. God still ain't providing for me. And so I grew up hating myself. And I grew up hating myself because I hated God. And I hated God because I thought God hated me. I thought God had to hate me. You don't love somebody and not protect them. You don't love somebody and not provide for them. And when I sat back and looked over my life, man, God ain't never really protected me. Because just stay with me. God never really provided for me. Yeah, I saw my daddy. I heard how abusive my father was to me as a toddler, as a baby. I saw him murder my mom. I was molested twice at the age of 6. I've been through some shit. Emotionally beat the fuck down by my family, by Christian people, telling me I had the devil in me and I always had to come up for prayer, and they always had to take some oil and slap me over the fucking forehead, as if that was gonna kick the devil out, as if that was gonna make the devil leave by slapping me in the fucking head with some fucking oil, and it was gonna make the devil leave. I didn't have the fucking devil in me, you ignorant ass bastards. But this is what church folk do. This is what ignorant ass church folk do. And then they wonder why people stop believing in God. Then they wonder why people stop fucking with the church. Because they sit back and they look at all the bullshit. And we start wondering, damn, God's blessing all these other people, but he ain't fucking with me. God's talking to all these other people, but he don't ever talk to me. God likes all these other people, but he don't like me. How come God don't like me? I love God. I want to serve God. I want to die for God. I remember as a kid, they was reading the book in church. It was Fox's Book of Martyrs. And I raised both of mine. I wanted to be a martyr for God. I was willing to die for God. And this young man, I was having a conversation with God. I was so mad and pissed off at God. And I was bringing up the fact of all the shit that I've gone through. And how come he's never been there for me? How come he's never had my fucking back? How come he's never fucking provided for me? How come I've never felt his sweet embrace? How come I've never felt him hug me? How come I've never felt the hug and the love of the church? How come I've never felt the love and the acceptance from my own fucking family? So I'm having this heart-to-heart with God. And I'm bringing up the fact that, God, I would have died for you. God, you broke my fucking heart. I would have died for you. I would have gone anywhere, said anything, done anything on your behalf. Because I loved you. And your word said, no greater love than a man had than he laid down his life for his friend. God, man, you are my best friend. I talk to you all the time. But it was always like the conversation was one-sided. It was always like the friendship was one-sided. It was always me talking, but you never talking back. It was always me telling you how much I loved you and I adored you, and the tears were running down my eyes as a little kid because I was so in love with you, and you never made me feel loved back. You never made me feel like I was accepted by you. You never made me feel like I was valued. You never made me feel like I was one of yours. And so I took on this mentality. Fuck the church. Fuck God. Fuck all these raggedy ass Christians. I'm done with this shit. I'm going to study the Bible because I want to prove these dumbasses wrong. I want to prove the hypocrisy and the lies and the deceit in the Bible. And so I started studying the Bible from Genesis to Revelation over and over and over and over. Why? Because I'm trying to prove these ignorant ass motherfuckers wrong. Because I'm so full of anger. I'm so bitter. I'm so hurt. God broke my heart. God broke my fucking heart as a little kid. And so I'm talking to God, and I'm telling him about me wanting to die for him and all the shit that I would have done for him. And God says one thing that fucked me up. He says, Elijah, I never asked you to die for me. Dying is easy. I want you to live for me. And that fucked me up because as a young man, dying was the ultimate sacrifice. There was no more after this. You know what I mean? It was done. It was over. And I remember my mama dying, and that shit was painful. I remember my mama screaming in agonizing pain and no one coming to her rescue. I remember my mama screaming and crying, and I'm screaming and crying as this little kid, and nobody coming to check up on us. Nobody picking me up and patting me on the back and comforting me. And so death was painful. Death was the ultimate of pain. That's what I associated with death, was pain, because I've been traumatized as a 2-year-old kid. But even as a 2-year-old kid, I remember, God, I'll go through that for you. God, I'll die for you. And this is what God allowed to happen to me. All this bullshit. And it broke my heart. And so I'm trying to ask, God, what do you mean you want me to live for you? And so, God, you hated me. You despised everything I did. Even when I was trying to be righteous, you fucked me over. Even when I was trying to study your word and memorize your scriptures, you caused me so much pain. How can you tell me You want me to live for you. You've been fucking my life up since I got here. You've been breaking my heart since I got here. You've been rejecting me since I got here. Since I got here, you've abandoned me. You've turned your back on me so many times. Where were you at all the times I was screaming and crying out for help? Where were you at all the times I was praying and pleading with you to help me? I understand the pain of Jesus. When he hung up on the cross, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? And I'm talking to God, and I'm telling God, I'm nowhere near Jesus' level. But I understand his pain. I understand his agony. I understand how he felt betrayed, how he felt rejected, how he felt abandoned. Because my whole life you've abandoned me. My whole life you've hurt me. And I'm supposed to sit here and believe that you exist? I'm supposed to sit here and believe that you're the epitome of love, that you are love? If you're the epitome of love, if you are love, then where was the love at in my life? Where was the mercy at? Where was the grace at in my life? I saw all my loved ones that I cared about die. And for what? Why? And so what he had to show me, what God showed me was, Elijah, you don't want to believe that I exist. It's easier to believe that I don't exist than it is to believe that I'm God, that I'm love. It's easier to believe that God doesn't exist than to believe that God is loving and that God so loved the world. And yet, it appears though God turned his back on you. It's easier to accept the fact that God can't exist. There can't be a God. It's easier to take that on and to believe that and to hold that close, because at least that means that God doesn't exist. Because if he exists, then where the fuck has he been at my whole life? Why did he do this to me? Why did he allow this to happen to me? Nah. There can't be a God. I refuse to believe that God hates me so much. I refuse to believe that God hated me as a little kid. That's why he allowed all this shit to happen to me. I refuse to accept that. I refuse to accept that God, so righteous, allows so much hate and anger and pain to be inflicted upon an innocent person. There can't be a God. No. I refuse to accept the fact that a loving, compassionate, gracious God will allow kids to be molested and violated and beaten, abused, when he has the power to stop it. Nah. It's easier. It's more logical. It makes more sense logically that there can't be a God. It makes more sense that God doesn't exist. And that's why there's so much hatred in the world. It makes more sense that God doesn't exist. That's why so many people get violated and abused and murdered and raped. There can't be a God. There can't be an all-powerful God. Because if there was, what does that say about this God to allow all this craziness to happen, to allow all this suffering to take place, especially for the innocent kids? No. I refuse to believe in God. If God exists, why does he allow so much war? Why does he allow so much innocent people to be shot and killed and kidnapped and raped and abandoned and beaten? And why does God allow these men to dog their sons and daughters out? Why does God allow these women to dog their family out? Why does God allow these people to be strung out on drugs? Why does God allow these people to be so violent? There can't be a God. We can't accept the fact that God, perfect God, righteous God, loving God, would do all of this. So the reality in our mind, we take on the notion, there is no God. God is for those weak-minded motherfuckers. God is for those sorry saps. God is for those immature people, intellectual people that can't handle the truth, that can't handle the reality. So they got to hold on to some superficial, superstitious thing that they can't see, that they can't touch. They just hope and pray that it exists. Why? Because it gives them fucking hope. It gets them up and allows them to make it through the day. They go through their pain and suffering because these weak-ass motherfuckers can't handle the truth for what it is. So they just keep believing that God is out there somewhere. They just keep believing that God is sitting up on his throne in heaven somewhere, just looking down on their raggedy ass. And they're praying, they're crying, hoping for some mercy, hoping for some grace, hoping for a way out, hoping for a miracle. Because these sorry-ass motherfuckers won't get up and get on their fucking grind and make their own life better. So they gotta believe in this God way out in outer space somewhere that they can't touch and can't see. And that's the reason why they sit there in poverty. That's the reason why they sit there in their state of just hope and just anticipation. Man, I'm going to suffer and go through all that I'm going through. Why? Because I'm going to go to heaven. Why? Because God loves me and God won't put more on me than I can handle. And we got all this crazy shit that we talk about because we believe in a God way out there somewhere. We ain't never seen, we ain't never touched. And so God is like Bigfoot. God is like fairies. God is like the unicorn. God don't fucking exist. He's just a figment of these weak-minded motherfuckers' imagination. God don't exist. He's just what these people use for fucking control. Because after all, look at how much the church controls the fucking world. Look how much money and how much power the church has over the fucking world. And so they're controlling you and manipulating you to do a certain thing and to act a certain way and to give a certain amount. Why? Because of fear of God. So I refuse to play their games. I'm taking back power and authority over my life. I'm not playing their fucking games. I don't believe in their fucking God. Now I don't have to go by their fucking rules. I'm free to be me. I'm free to do what the fuck I want to do. Because God doesn't exist. And what I've had to realize, what God has had to show me, was Elijah. I don't care whether you think I exist or not. Elijah, your belief in me, That has nothing to do with whether or not I exist or not. Elijah, whether you believe in me or not, don't change the fact that I'm here. I've always been here and I'll always be here. Elijah, whether you believe in me or not, don't change the fact that I'm all powerful. It don't change the fact that I'm omnipresent. I'm everywhere all the time. You don't change the fact that I'm omnipotent, all powerful. It's Elijah, I'm here. But because you've gone through what you've gone through, it's easier for you to believe that I don't exist. It's easier for you to believe that I can't exist. Because if I existed, why did I allow the slaves to go through all that they went through? If I existed, then why would I allow your native ancestors, the Indians, to go through all that they went through? If I existed, why did I allow you to go through all that you've gone through? So I understand, Elijah, why you're mad at me. I understand, Elijah, why you don't believe in me. I understand why you don't want shit to do with church, why you don't want shit to do with God, why you don't want shit to do with them people. I understand that. But let me have a heart-to-heart with you. Let me whisper into your ear something. Let me give you perspective. Let me show you you through my eyes. Allow me, Elijah, to give you a glimpse of what I see, how I see. You told me your perspective. You laid out your belief. You've laid out your groundwork and your understanding of why I can't exist. And how fucked up I am. And I get that. I get that from your perspective. That makes perfect sense from your perspective. I'm not minimizing or dismissing your perspective, Elijah. It is what it is. Allow me to give you a greater understanding. Allow me to show you a side of me you don't think you've ever seen. Elijah, when I told you I wanted you to live for me. See, like, what you don't understand was that I chose you from the beginning. From the beginning of time, before time ever existed, I chose you. I picked you. Before your great-great-great-great-great-grandpappy walked on this planet, I had already chosen you. When Adam and Eve was walking around in the garden, I had already chosen you. When the children of Israel was in Egypt as slaves for 400 years, I had already chosen you. I had already chosen you. Before Jesus was born, I had already chosen you. Before the Bible was ever written, I had already chosen you. I chose you. I knew you were going to go through all the pain and suffering you did. I knew that before the world flooded and all those people died. And the only people left alive was Noah and his family. I knew you were going to go through all the hell that you did. I already knew it. I had already saw it. Before all those things occurred, Elijah, you and I already had this conversation. Elijah, before Jesus was born, you and I already had this conversation. Elijah, I knew you were going to go through all the rejection, the abandonment, the brokenness. And I chose you. I chose you. Why did I choose you? Why did I choose you? Because there's something about you. There's always been something about you. You didn't believe it because of all the pain you went through. You didn't see it because of all the pain you went through. Pain has a way of blinding you to the truth. I'll say it again. God was telling Elijah, pain has a way of blinding you. Because your family rejected you. Because your family mistreated you. It was going to make you feel a certain kind of way. It was going to make you question whether or not I existed. It was going to make you question whether or not I love you. It was going to make you turn your back on me. It was going to make you angry and reject me. It was going to make you curse me. I knew this already. But what you don't understand, Elijah, is that I loved you so much that I allowed you to go through all of that pain. Why? I allowed you to curse me, and it broke my heart every time you cursed me. It broke my heart every time you felt like I was rejecting you, every time it felt like I was abandoning you. It broke my heart. But you had to go through that process. You had to go through that process. And yes, it hurt you, but it broke me too. But I knew what this outcome would be. I knew the final outcome. And although I was broken, I was happy. Although I was broken, I was smiling. Although I was broken, I was full of joy and peace. This is God talking. I was full of joy and peace. Why? Because I know that this brokenness would just be a season for you. It's just a snap of the finger for me. Because I knew this brokenness, this rejection, this pain, this suffering would establish within you a power. It would show you your true nature. It would make you angry and bitter and blah, 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 blah. But I knew that we would have this conversation. I knew that you would get to the point where you just finally surrender. And you learn to take all of that bitterness, all of that anger, all of that rage, all of that hatred, and you would convert that energy. You would transmute that energy. You would change that energy. And you would make it loving. And that you would be able to stand before the world. Somebody that had been broken and abandoned and rejected and just dogged out. And you would be able to stand before the world and show them, man, but for the grace of God. But for God. And you would be able to talk to them and explain to them who God is. And God doesn't sit way up on top of some throne 50 million billion miles away in a heaven you can't imagine. You would be able to sit there and talk to them. Why? Because they would be able to understand your pain. They would be able to understand your brokenness. And so you'll be able to teach them after you've learned that in order for you to be a beacon, in order for you to represent God, in order for you to reflect God, you've had to go through some things. In order for you to be able to raise your head and say, man, here am I, through it all. Through it all, here I am. In order for you to get to that point, you've had to go through some things. Why? So that other people could have hope. So that other people could see your brokenness and your dismay and your dismay and your despair. And for them to be drawn to you. But how did you get over that? How did you stop being so angry? How did you get past your brokenness? How did you get past your self-hate? How did you get past your hatred of the church, your hatred of God? How did you get over your low self-esteem? How did you get past being molested? How did you get past your frustration and your anger and your hatred for your dad of murdering your mom? How did you get past being abused by your own family and rejected by your own family? How did you get past that and become this beacon of love? How did you go through all the hell that you went through and you're still able to raise your hand and give the world love and give the world peace and give the world hope? How did you get to this point? I haven't gone through what you've gone through, Elijah, but how did you get here? How did you handle all of that and still turn out to be who you are? How do you get here? And there's so many people want to understand, how do you get here? How do you become a beacon of hope? How do you become a beacon of love? How do you become a beacon of joy? How do you become a beacon of happiness after having suffered all of the hell you did? How? Because the church folk are going to mess the people up. The church folk are going to have the people confused. The church folk are going to have the people angry and frustrated and faking the funk. Not being real. They're going to become the great pretenders. How did you get here? And you got to show them. You have to talk to them. Because they're going to get frustrated and the people are going to give up on the church. The people are going to get sick and tired of the bullshit in the church. And the people are going to leave Christianity and the churches by the thousands. And you have to be here, standing there and just spreading love and spreading truth. And helping people learn how to get past their brokenness, how to get past their pain and their suffering, how to have peace, and regardless of whatever the situation they're in, how to have peace, how to tap into joy and happiness in spite of their circumstances. But you had to go through that stuff in order for you to be able to tell the people and show the people. It ain't something you could just pick up in a book and just read. You had to experience this firsthand. You had to experience the rejection, the brokenness, the abandonment, the hurt firsthand. You couldn't just talk about it from somebody else's story. The power from you opening up your mouth and you becoming transparent and you becoming raw and real with the people and telling them the pain and the hurt and the frustration and the hate and the animosity and the bitterness that you dealt with. The power comes in you dealing with your issues of suicide. And you becoming raw and transparent to the people so that they can understand that they're not alone. So that they can understand, man, this is what it feels like. This is normal. Okay, how can I get better now? How can I deal with this now? How can I heal from this now? I don't have to carry depression the rest of my life. I don't have to carry these suicidal thoughts the rest of my life. I don't have to carry this brokenness and this abandonment and this self-hate and racism and homophobic ideas and all this other bull. I don't have to carry this shit the rest of my life. I can be free. I can be free emotionally, intellectually, physically, and spiritually. I can be free. I have to choose to be free. I have to choose to be free. Most of us stay stuck in slavery, emotional slavery, spiritual slavery, intellectual slavery, and physical slavery. We stay stuck to our conditions, stuck to our past, stuck to our family ties. We're a prisoner because we choose to be a prisoner. We're a slave because we choose slavery. God is real. God is real. It's just that the church has fucked up who God is. It's just that religious people have fucked up who God is. And what I mean, they fucked up our perception of who God is. And so many of them, they think that God wants us to be separated by our race. So many of them think that God hates homosexuality. So many of them think that God hates the fact that, man, you want to do this or you want to do this or you got these tattoos or these piercings or whatever this other stupid shit that they're self-righteous and judgmental over. For the longest, they didn't believe that women was supposed to even talk in church. This is how fucked up the church is. They didn't even believe that women were supposed to talk in church. They didn't believe that women could be teachers in church, let alone a fucking pastor. Don't even think about being a fucking bishop. And so the church has to grow the fuck up. But the church can grow up until the people grow up. It is what it is. Hope and pray that I said something that's blessed you, that's helped you, that's encouraged you, that's inspired you. Man, I love you guys. Happy healing. Peace.